The marble floor is still warm, not from the dying sun, but from the blood seeping into its cracks. You stand in the shattered heart of the Byzantine throne room, where emperors once held court amid golden mosaics and whispered intrigues. Now, those same tiles crunch under the heavy tread of Ottoman boots. Through smoke-blackened windows, Constantinople devours itself in flames, a city that defied empires for 1,100 years, crumbling to ash and anguished cries in the span of a single, merciless dawn. At the epicenter of this apocalypse stands a girl of 15, her hands stained black with kitchen soot, her hair hacked short in jagged, frantic strokes. She wears the coarse wool of a servant, but it offers no shield. They have found her regardless. Princess Theodora Palaiologina, last fragile bloom of Byzantium's imperial line. Facing her, perched on a makeshift throne reeking of siege camps and black powder, is the architect of her ruin, Sultan Mehmed II, just 21, his dark eyes flickering with the cold fire of triumph laced with ruthless ambition. His commanders loom behind him, arms folded like statues of judgment, their silence heavy with expectation. They all know the ritual etched into the laws of conquest. Islamic custom decrees 3 days of unrestrained pillage for a city stormed by force, 3 days where the victors claim all, gold, glory, and lives. The girl's breaths come in shallow gasps, her body a taut wire against the tremor of terror. Outside, the screams rise and fall like a dirge. Yet in this suspended moment, what Mem chooses, for her, for the corpse of an empire, will etch a truth into history's shadowed margins. A truth both conqueror and conquered conspired to bury beneath simpler tales of savagery and sorrow. For the most perilous revelations of war are not its horrors, but the mercies that dare to bloom amid the ruins. What does one do with the princess of a toppled realm? And why would a conqueror, having loosed the hounds of hell upon her world, defy the iron code of medieval victory? To unravel this, we must step back, to May 29, 1453, the day the medieval world fractured. But first, to the siege's fevered prelude, 57 days earlier, in the poisoned spring of that fateful year. The air in Constantinople hangs thick with the stench of decay, not just the rot of a dying empire, but the acrid promise of gunpowder and despair. For 11 centuries, this queen of cities had mocked oblivion. She outlasted the Huns as Rome bled out in the west. She repelled the Arab caliphs. Even the Latin crusaders of 1204, those treacherous brothers in Christ, had sacked her but failed to kill her. Her walls, raised by Theodosius in 413 AD, stood impregnable, a testament to divine favor. Until now. 80,000 Ottoman warriors encircle her like a noose, their tents blotting the horizon. 200 warships strangle the Golden Horn, turning its waters to a glittering cage. And on the distant hills, silhouettes that chill the blood of grizzled veterans, cannons. One monster, 27 feet of forged fury, born from the mind of a Hungarian defector named Orban. Constantinople's coffers couldn't tempt him, Mem's gold did. When it belched fire, the earth quaked 3 miles distant. Its stone projectiles, over 1,200 pounds each, smashed into walls older than nations, each impact a thunderclap as if the heavens themselves rent asunder. Within those walls, 7,000 defenders, Greeks, Venetians, Genoese, tally their doom with grim arithmetic. Church bells toll ceaselessly, a frantic litany against the inevitable. Priests parade icons venerated since the age of saints, beseeching miracles that never come. Citizens bolt their doors, for all know the conqueror's droit du seigneur, 3 days of unchecked rapine, where the fallen city's treasures, and its people, become spoils for the storm. In the echoing vastness of the great palace clings the tattered remnant of the Palaiologos dynasty. Emperor Constantine XI, 48 and unwed, childless as the barren throne he guards, steels himself for martyrdom. He will perish sword in hand, defending the capital that is his soul. But his kin, cousins, nephews, distant scions, linger in marble halls grown too cavernous, their whispers swallowed by fear. Among them, Theodora, 15, schooled in the elegies of Homer and the philosophies of Plato, conversant in Greek, Latin, even Arabic. Refinements that glitter like fool's gold when iron balls pulverize your world. She yearns for the impossible, a dawn mirroring the one before. But her dread is visceral. to join the multitudes herded like chattel once the gates yield, parceled out as playthings to the horde. She cannot yet fathom that, in 57 days, she will confront a conqueror scarcely older than herself in a throne room awash in gore, and that her fate will hinge not on fortune or fragility, but on the intricate psychology of a sultan desperate to transcend the stain of warlord. Beyond the ramparts, Mehmed II pores over maps by the guttering light of tallow candles, sleep a fugitive in his haunted eyes. He has worn the sultan's mantle twice before, first at 12, toppled in a coup after a mere 2 years of frailty. His father, Murad II, reclaimed the throne, ruling with iron until death thrust it back upon Mehmed at 19. Christendom mocks him as the boy sultan. His own janissaries, those elite slaves forged into steel, eye him with skepticism. And everywhere, the specter of his sire looms, Murad the unyielding, the true giant. Mehmed is compact, broad-shouldered, his gaze a forge of intellect and hunger. He commands 6 tongues, devours the exploits of Alexander like scripture, slumbers with Arian's Anabasis as his talisman. Constantinople is no mere prize, it is apotheosis. To seize it is to inherit Augustus, to eclipse Constantine, to forge himself as Kaiser Irum, Caesar of Rome, not in metaphor, but in unyielding claim. The city is legitimacy incarnate, the cradle of an empire a millennium old. Triumph here crowns him eternal, failure dooms him to dust. Yet for 57 days, he sustains 80,000 mouths, his coffers hemorrhaging like the wounds in Byzantium's flanks. Viziers murmur of mutiny, spies whisper of daggers in the dark. But beneath the siege's clamor stirs a vision his generals cannot grasp. Mehmed schemes not mere conquest, but metamorphosis, an empire reborn in his image, absorbing the bones of the old to quicken the new. And in that alchemy lies the key to the girl's improbable reprieve. May 28, 1453, one heartbeat from oblivion. In the palace's shadowed alcoves, Theodora's mother wields shears with trembling resolve, lopping her daughter's raven locks in crude, uneven tufts that scatter like omens across the marble. The woman, unnamed in the annals, dismissed as Lady Euphrosyne, in fleeting footnotes, forces soot from the kitchens into her child's palms, staining nobility into obscurity. She drapes her in scratchy wool, a servant's shroud. The highborn are prizes, she murmurs, voice a frayed thread. The lowly slip unseen. The unsaid hangs heavier, survive. Become nothing, and live. That twilight, Mehmed unfurls a gambit that stuns his war council, surrender, and mercy flows like the Bosphorus. Constantine retains the Peloponnese as vassal duke, no blood need stain the streets. A herald bears the parley beneath a white banner. The emperor receives him clad in armor beneath imperial purple, his reply, as chronicled by eyewitness Francesco de la Brocchiere, a blade of quiet steel, to yield this city exceeds the power of man or God among us. We have sworn to die, each by our will. The envoy departs. Mehmed's visage is a mask of basalt, but his command cracks like a whip, final assault at dawn. 2 sovereigns, each lashed to fate's unyielding, one to defiance, the other to dominion, covet the throne that dawn will orphan. That night, the city's soul surges toward Hagia Sophia, orthodoxy and Catholicism fusing in terror's forge, ancient schisms dissolving like mist. Thousands cram the nave, candles winking against vaults that cradle heaven's echo. Hymns ascend in raw supplication. Theodora kneels amid the throng, her disguise a fragile veil, merely another soot-streaked maid. Elders sob for a metropolis once teeming with 300,000 souls. Mothers cradle infants doomed to dust. Beyond the walls, Ottoman kettledrums pulse, a dirge swelling to thunder. 80,000 throats bellow Allahu Akbar, a seismic roar that, as historian Daukas attests, seemed to summon the earth's reply. In the cathedral's hush, prayers stutter, then blaze fiercer. Theodora's lips trace the liturgy, but her mind engraves the gold-flecked mosaics, the curl of incense, her mother's grip like an anchor. This is Byzantium's requiem, the final breath of her known world. They retreat to the palace past midnight, avenues ghostly, homes fortified against the storm. Theodora curls in velvet dark, her mother's respirations a fragile metronome. Words fail when apocalypse knocks. In the Ottoman sprawl, blades sing on whetstones, mail clinks like chained fates. Mehmed prowls the campfires, halting at knots of warriors, his voice a chameleon. Turkish firebrands promised plunder, Arab poets paradise, Persian sages both. Yet his thoughts drift past the Moro's carnage, to the aftermath. His captains envision a bacchanal of loot and chains. But Mehmed dreams Caesarian, not ravager, but renewer. Emperors inherit, they do not eradicate. The riddle, will his legions permit this heresy? At 1 in the morning, the drums ignite in earnest. Theodora bolts upright. Her mother silhouettes the casement, horizon aglow with Ottoman pyres. It begins. They stand wordless as percussion swells, the inaugural shrieks vaulting the battlements. Byzantium's terminal aurora breaks, and neither foresees that, ere 8 hours elapse, a soot-smeared princess shall behold a sultan meant to despoil her, yet who will not. May 29, 1453, 1 a.m. 3 waves avalanche upon the walls, a deluge of flesh and iron. First, the Bashi bazooks, irregulars flung as chaff to sap the defender's sinew. They perish in droves, transfixed by shafts, scalded by pitch, pulped by boulders, yet the tide renews, inexorable. Second, Anatolian veterans, phalanxes clad in scale and resolve, methodically grinding resolve to rubble. Byzantines falter now, quivers emptying, limbs leaden. Third, the Janissaries, sultan scions, cradle-robbed and honed since boyhood. No reckless surge, they advance as molten steel, inexorable where they adhere. And there, the walls splinter. By 5, apocalypse unfurls. Giovanni Giustiniani, the Genoese bulwark of the land wall, takes a quarrel through his cuirass. Frenzy seizes him, he clamors for evacuation to his galleys. His Italian condottieri, beholding their lion flee, fracture, 57 days of valor evaporating in a coward's wake. They retreat, arms slackening, eyes questing for egress. The Ottomans scent fracture, surging with feral glee. Then, a trifling lapse dooms all, the Kirkaporta, a postern for Sally Ports, ajar from a midnight raid. Ottoman scout Ulyabatli Hassan spies it, storms through with 36 kin. They hoist the crescent banner atop the rampart, a profane standard mocking the sky. Panic metastasizes, sentinels bolt, seeking kin or keels or oblivion. Constantine XI beholds the unraveling. He rends his porphyry and hurtles into the melee, bellowing the taunt of a true dragonesque, the city is taken, yet I live. His corpse eludes posterity, the final Basilius dissipates into the maelstrom like incense. By 8, 6 breaches gape. The impregnable falls in 7 hours. What ensues is medieval history's blackest tableau, homes gutted, barricaded souls asphyxiated or incinerated. Males hewn in thoroughfares. Women and young dragged in droves, 30 to 50,000 yoked as thralls that dawn. Hagia Sophia, sanctuary for multitudes, transmutes to abattoir. Bronze portals yield to battering, clerics mid-Eucharist are hauled forth. The exquisite, maidens, artisans, youths for the Janissary forge, are culled for the victor's gaze. The palace succumbs by midday. Ottoman blades carve its vitals, crucifixes toppling like felled gods, the hunt for imperials obeying pursuit. Some aristocrats embrace oblivion's edge, others burrow in cisterns, cellars, labyrinthine vaults. Theodora, servant veiled, crushes into a larder amid amphorae of oil, pulls thundering as footfalls quake the stone, wails ricocheting through galleries where she once waltzed to lutes. Hours bleed into method. They unearth her, palms too silken, diction too courtly. Soot yields to scrutiny. Noon. Mehmed mounts a milk-white Arabian, threading the Adrianople gate amid laurels of his devising. He veers to Hagia Sophia, not to raise, but to possess. Scooping earth, he dusts his turban in pious abasement, then strides the nave where Justinian's dome defies gravity. Pagamber Effendimizan Hadisai Seraphim Musibins, he proclaims, this shall be a mosque. An imam ululates the adhan, Christendom's apogee bows to Allah. Yet Mehmed appends expectation, he halts the sack after a single day, not 3. Grumblings ripple through ranks, but fealty prevails. He edicts amnesty for hiders, repatriation for exiles, safeguards for basilicas. This is no sack, it is succession. Emperors govern living realms, not charnel pyres. His vizier tallies the elite captives. Among them, a palace foundling, 15, Palaiologos blood. Theodora is herded to the throne room. The hall reeks of char and copper. Mosaics lie in shards, blood pools like spilled wine. Mehmed enthrones in alabaster silk, his turban a coronet jewel to ape the eagle of Rome. Theodora stumbles forward, rags clinging, dread of ice. Etiquette exacts obeisance, she rigidifies. Mehmed assays her, then queries in flawless Greek, "You are Palaiologos' kin?" "I am." "Your father?" "Slain in the breach." The chamber coils taut. Viziers anticipate concubinage, the conquerors do. Attendants brace for the axe or auction. Mehmed probes once more, "You command Greek, Latin, threads of Arabic?" Silence. Then, the inconceivable, he decrees her emancipation, not chattel, not odalisque, but freeman under imperial aegis. A dower, a domain in the fanner, liberty to venerate the cross unmolested. Murmurs erupt, a cyclone of bewilderment. This pivot, in a chamber frescoed with slaughter, is why chronicles consigned it to oblivion. Latin scribes craved Ottoman fiends to stoke jihad's counter, Turkish annalists, Mehmed's scimitar-sharp saga. Neither brooked a youth's caprice appending conquest's calculus. Why? Why extend clemency to the scion of the foe he felled, amid the century's apex of arms? The cipher resides in his self-coronation, Kaiser Irum, Rome's anointed Caesar. Mehmed coveted not demolition, but transubstantiation, to graft Byzantium sinews onto Ottoman bone, legitimizing his rule as organic heir to the Caesars. Mercy to the Palaiologoi incarnated magnanimitas, Rome's storied largesse. Shielding the faithful, he styled himself sovereign of flocks diverse, not Umma alone. Deeper still, scholars like Franz Babinger posit Mehmed mulled union with a Byzantine consort, sealing his diadem as Constantine's veritable successor. Theodora's reprieve hints at such calculus, though archives tease without confirming. Nor did his grace halt there. He enthroned Gennadios Scholarios, Byzantium savant, as Orthodox patriarch, vesting him with sway over the empire's Christians. A Muslim potentate empowering a prelate of the cross? Heresy to the age's zealots. The decree resounded, Byzantium perished not, it evolved, rebranded under the crescent. Theodora endured 3 years in the Sultan's shade, woven into a Byzantine enclave Mehmed curated, a Greek thread in the Ottoman tapestry. She beheld minarets ascend beside spires, Hellenic minds lured to scriptoria and divans, the Sultan seating academes and athenaeums. In 1456, she voyaged to the Morea, where Byzantine embers smoldered in Ottoman thrall. Whispers claim she wed a petty lord, fading into the 1480s, obscure, yet unbound. Her tale suppression served dual vanities, Europe's quills favored barbaric sultans to galvanize crusades, how rouse the faithful against a foe who harbors their princesses. Ottoman scribes burnished Mehmed's saber, his ecumenism muddied the mythos. Simpler to extol the blade than the bomb. Yet fortunes will spun uneven. Myriad thousands chained to galleys or bazaars, bartered from Nile to steppes. The savants, lexicographers, dogmatists, illuminators, exiled westward, seeding Italy's Renaissance with Hellenic fire. Constantinople's pyre ignited Europe's odyssey, Ottoman tariffs choked the Silk Road, birthing Iberian quests. In 4 decades, Columbus cleaved west for Cathay, birthing worlds unintended. Ottoman ledgers, exhumed from seraglios, unveil the suppressed, edicts shielding nobles, Christians in curial seats, Greek tomes enshrined. Mehmed, slayer of realms, outdid Byzantium's fractious lords, who had squabbled through schisms and stagnation for 2 centuries, in preserving his prey. 15,000 Hellenes tarried, birthing the Phanariote cadre that stewarded Ottoman orthodoxy for ages. The olive jar fugitive wove into this paradox, perdurance via pivot, lineage via loss. The boy, Sultan grasped what his myrmidons missed, realms rise not by erasure, but assimilation, the fallen's marrow fueling the victor's vein. This saga gnaws because we crave history's stark palette, fiends and paladins, prey and predators, borders etched in moral granite. Yet Theodora's thread, and the multitudes it entwines, unspools a thornier weave. A sultan sanctioning carnage could wield mercy as scalpel, salvaging legions for his diadem's luster. A princess stripped bare could endure via maternal guile, innate pliancy, and a tyrant's thirst for pedigree. Realms dissolve not in pyrotechnics, but in the grinding of dread and decree. Triumph leans on the vanquished more than victors confess. Endurance springs less from pity than from the mighty's yen for validation. Such verities, interred in palatine vaults, discomfort all. How many kin to Theodora, dames, clerks, plebs, slid catastrophes sieve because utility trumped umbrage? How many such parables mouldered, as they vexed the casuistry of triumph and lament? And in our epoch, what of our yen for reductive epics, of atrocity or apotheosis, over the labyrinthine veracity of tenacity? Envision that throne room anew, a waif, consigned to perdition, before a sultan her senior by 6 summers. Both shackled to annal scripts, both carving aberrant trails through empire's detritus. Clemency and carnage capered tandem through Constantinople's pyres. The paramount query endures not who prevailed, but who persisted, and at what price. The savant Critivolos, chronicling decades hence, etched it thus: the city, bastion of a millennium, yielded in a morning's madness. Yet her folk, fragments of them, outlasted the gale. In that tenacity resides a verity thornier than paeans to prowess or pathos. Conquest and compassion, inseparable in the forge of fate, remind us that humanity's flicker persists, defiant, in history's fiercest tempests.